Well, this is a series, a topic that has been coming up quite a bit, and it's been one that we've wanted to touch on. And I think Lunch and Learn is the perfect opportunity to do this because it is one of those sit down and go, what can we learn about a welcome series? And so just to clarify, what is a welcome series? Simply, it's creating a series of emails that are intended to be automated. Now, automation can look different for different people, depending upon your CRM or if you can actually kick it off yourself. But it's an intentional series that's sent to new folks to help them engage and understand who the organization is and help them be able to grow in their sense of connection to an organization. So it allows a leader really to take time to intentionally plan how they want to welcome new people. So the goal of a welcome series is to really help people who are new build a trusting relationship and help them to get a faster connection to the organization than they would if they just showed up and then they're trying to figure it out. It also helps people know what you would like of them, how they could connect to you. So a welcome series can be something that you take a few minutes or hours. It could be, you could work on this for a short, few minutes regularly for a while, or sit down and knock it out in a couple of hours and end up with a plan that helps people really connect well to you when they first get introduced to you. So, actually, there's a lot of different contexts that you might use a welcome series, but we want, because we really want to, when people come to our organizations, we do want to recognize that when they're new, we want to welcome them. We want that welcoming spirit to be with them. The two most common welcome series are these two: new donors and new email subscribers. But just thinking about, who else might you create a welcome series for? And the good news is if you get one of these down, you can always just tweak it and still be intentional. So it's not starting over for every one of them. But if you think about it, you may, for some of you, have a monthly donor program. You might want to have a welcome series that doesn't mean they're brand new donors, but they're new to your monthly donor program. You could adjust that for that environment. Or another idea that I've talked to a number of people is when they've had a big event and there are people that come to that event that are usually invited by friends or co-workers. They might not know much about your organization, and you get their contact information, as a great org would do, trying to gather that after a big event. Well, we call those third-party donors, and those are people who often don't know a lot. So there could be a good use for people in those kinds of situations where they're just getting to know you, but even more so than others are kind of on the outsides because it's through a friend. So today we're going to focus on the new donor email welcome, because the idea of welcoming new donors is really it's the new acquisition is retaining donors. But before we jump into that, here just is a word on email subscribers, because I thought this was really significant. Just to note that 74% of people who subscribe to your communication of any kind, whether it's an update, a newsletter, anytime that people subscribe, 74% expect that they're going to get some kind of a welcome email after they subscribe. And that's interesting. The expectations matter. And I don't know if we're always conscientious of that, because we're excited when someone subscribes. We hate it when people unsubscribe because it sometimes feels bad. But those new subscribers are great, yet scary. The stats say that only half of the organizations actually send a welcome email of any kind for subscribers. So just something to think on before we leave that subject of new subscribers. And we'll touch on a few different topics around this, but mostly focusing on the whole idea of new donors. So if we're going to focus on getting this new donor welcome series, the primary purpose is to help people be engaged and to stay as a donor. So retention matters. So these kinds of series actually are not designed specifically for major donors or foundations or those third-party donors that might come from a campaign, because those folks, there's a different context. So when we're talking about a new donor, we're talking about a new donor through a campaign. It might be through an event, but not necessarily a third-party person. It might be somebody that just looked you up, found you, connected, or someone you gave a business card to and they became a donor. So this is a very simple 5-step, the last step ending, and when our focus is going to be on how do you just invest some time to be thoughtful about a process of welcoming people. So when you look at this and you see, all right, the number one thing is we all have those immediate automated gift acknowledgement receipts. This is one of those really good times to be able to utilize your, either if you have a great CRM that can help you know when someone's a brand new donor, or for you, if you're working with a few people and you know someone's new, you can track it and respond to it right away, is to use a very customized welcome gift acknowledgement receipt that helps people know that you recognize that they're new. We're going to look at some examples in a little bit. The second thing is just to, send off those handwritten cards. There's something about that, that when someone gets a handwritten card, they feel seen. They know you've taken the time to do it. And all the stats say that if you do a handwritten card, and then if you even add a phone call within 48 hours, the amount of people that will continue to give or give a second gift, the likelihood of them giving a second gift, sticking around to know who you are, increases by more than 50%. So that's pretty significant. And then number 4 is a simple welcome packet. I know a number of you have, because I've received them from you, have a little welcome packet. It might be last year's impact report. It might be the handwritten card. It might be a sticker. So there's different things to say, what would it look like to send someone who's a brand new donor? The cost of acquiring a donor is significant. So these people have done it. So what would a welcome packet look like? So I just wanted to throw that out there, a little bit of context for the 4 to 6 email series that's welcoming. So then number 5 here, that's when you create that welcome series. So if you've kind of given that front experience where people are
I can't get anything done.
know that they're being seen, are being felt, that you recognize that they've given a new gift, then you're ready to just give them an introduction to who you are. And we're not talking about creating something complicated. Really, the best way to go about this is to do something simple, something that's intentional, something that you can implement easily, and something that actually is going to make a real difference to help people feel welcomed and know how to connect in your organization. So it's almost like walking someone into your home, welcoming them in, leading them to the right room, helping them feel comfortable in that environment. So here we go. What's the goal? So I would say these are really important, is that idea of welcome. What does it mean for people to feel welcome? We use that word often, but think about that. When you want someone to know, we are glad that you're here. So taking that time to help people feel like they are welcomed, making sure that they're thanked, that they feel valued, that their gift is valued. The goal is, I think, when you get to number 3, this is where it really makes a difference. You're building trust and you're developing a relationship as people get to know you through these different emails. You can introduce them to your organization, to different people in your organization, and to their works. This is where you can really share what's the mission. And that's where people get a feeling of, is this my people? Is this what I care about? And that in essence, you're guiding them on a journey. It's like when you walk someone into the front door, you kind of guide them through your house. You don't just leave them there and walk away. but you help them learn about your organization. What is the problem you're trying to solve? What's the impact you've already made? What are some of your favorite stories? And to invite them to even engage more. You want to keep that conversation going and pave a way toward a really good future that's going to be lasting. This is how we build donor retention. And I love this image because new donors, these are people who've already made an intentional decision to give to your work. They were already inspired. Let that sink in. Think about that from a donor's perspective. They hear about you, they, decide, hey, I want to give to these people. And, they're looking for places that they trust and they can give and that they can make a difference. They want to give. Think about that. What did our moms teach us when we get a good gift? What did she teach us? Well, no, oh, wait. I think my mom taught me to say thank you first, but also strike while the iron's hot. If you delay your welcome series and if you just send a thank you acknowledgement letter and that's it, even if you delay this welcome series by a couple of days, what you miss is the peak window of their excitement for the gift that they gave and the potential for their future engagement. So welcome series really are something that needs to be responsive to the decision that a donor made. They wanted to give to you, they found there was a reason, and you're responsive back saying, hey, I know this is something you want to do. That's where the real opportunity begins. It's getting them to stay engaged, getting them to want to learn more, to be inspired and motivated. And eventually, that has the potential of a second gift and even becoming a future champion of your ministry. So strike while the iron's hot. Here are just a few tips, kind of the top tips. Getting people to open a welcome series, one of the first things you got to do is have a warm, welcoming subject line. And I think using the words welcome, thank you, using your org name in that helps people know, okay, they recognized I've given a gift to them and they are warmly responding to me. That gets someone to open that up. Use their name if you possibly can. Either that is manually when you're kicking this off, or if you've got a great CRM, you can put that right in there. But nearly half of recipients will decide whether or not to open an email based on the subject line. And then the reality is 2/3 of subject lines decide whether or not our emails are even going to push them off into the spam. So if you've got a great subject line and you use people's name, we all know personalization is really essential. That's going to get people feeling connected right away. And when you talk to people, this isn't meant to be formal. The best way to do this is for people to feel like they're personal. You're talking to a real person. I like this, right? You want to write like you're talking over coffee, bring people in like you're chatting with them. And this is one of my favorite tips. Don't waste your best content. These are new people. They don't know your stories. They don't know your one-liners. They don't know what things you've been most excited about. Tell them to these folks. Use your best stories. Use your past videos. Link to a blog because your best content is going to help people know who you are better than anything else. So bring those things up to the front and make sure your brand new people get a chance to hear those stories, see those things that you've been so proud of and excited about. And as you welcome people and you become a trusted guide, that really means that you want it to be like, this is not from a generic welcome series, but you want people to feel and recognize that these emails are coming from a real person. That ties to that last point. That's like personalize a signature. It should be from a person, not from donor services or info at. This should be from whoever that primary person of contact for your donors should be. You want that person to be highlighted there so that they can say, hey, I'm not just a person, a number. I am connecting to somebody that's real, and I could actually even reply back if I wanted to. And always keep it short and sweet. You don't want long. You don't need a newsletter, What you need is to keep these things so that people are going to look at them. They see your email, short, sweet, they'll open it up. They know they've got time for it, and they will continue to open your emails if you keep your welcome series short and sweet. Best tips there. So a little bit on boosting donor engagement. Because that's really what we want to do. It's that sense of being genuine and heartfelt about your communication that warms people to it. That makes people go, okay, this group there's something unique and different. And if you then go to that process of sharing what it is that you are passionate about as an organization, what are you doing? What's a problem you're trying to solve? If they recognize that, they care about that too, then they're going to go, this is my people, because people like us do things like this. So you want to help them see what is most important, what's most significant to the work that you're doing. What is the mission and why is it important? Making sure that they get an inside view on what real life-changing impact that you've already had. That's where your best stories need to come up. Learning how they want to be able to learn, how does your organization really work? Kind of getting that insider picture of what's really going on. What are the programs you've got? Giving a little bit more information than they would just get if they just kind of continue to give randomly. So giving them some of those different handles to hold on to understand how you do, what is actually unique about you, that captures their attention. They want to know that their contribution matters. So anytime you help them see how their gift is being used, that makes a donor more interested in wanting to learn more. And they want to feel heard and valued. So there's a number of ways you can do that, but keep that in mind as donors, it's a two-way side. And if you really want to bring this out for new people to feel like, hey, this is a real person you're communicating to, don't be surprised if they actually reply to your email with a response. And that shows a win, that they felt heard, they believed it's a real person. And they're actually starting to feel comfortable enough to go, this is my people. And when a donor says, this is my people, the likelihood of them continuing on, reading your emails, donating, staying a part of your community increases dramatically. And then always within engagement, you want to invite people to do more. How can they be engaged? How can they make a lasting difference besides just the one-time gift that they gave? So that's a big part of a welcome series, is boosting the donor's engagement. You want to give them a boost so they kind of get this process going, and it doesn't take forever. It gets done in a short period of time. So what kinds of things do you want to include in your welcome series? There isn't one way to do a welcome series. You could do it in 3 emails, you could do it in 5, you could do it in 6, you could do it in 4. And there's not exact, you can create a template of how to do it, but I didn't choose to do that today. I'm going to give you some examples because every relationship's different. Every organization is different. Make it your own. But the number one welcome email, that matters. And we're going to look a little bit more deeply at what should be in that welcoming email. What should you do to help people feel welcomed? But you should also share your programs and your impact. I can't understate that the importance of showing impact is so critical for a donor to feel like they want to continue being a part of your community. And then introduce them to your community. Help people feel like they know who are the leaders, how do people volunteer, if they're an outside community, do you have a Facebook community? How do I get engaged? Broader than, if I want to, how do I connect to this community? And then what are some other resources that you have that you can share? What are the activities going on? If you give a new donor a sense that you're an insider and here's what's coming up and you can join us, they're going to want to stay connected to you. So those are just some ideas for ways to do that. And again, I can't state it enough. Keep it simple. You don't have to do all of these things, but just keep in mind, how do you want people to feel like they can engage and they get to know you better? Here's one sample of a welcome series, so it's just, here's my email to the welcome community. This group put their phone call later after that intentional email. And then they share about the dream. What's our dream? What's our impact? And what's the impact of your gift? And then after that phone call, then they start to help you understand what their programs are and who the people are that are significant in our community. Then they broaden that community and start to share about board members, volunteers, and share even more stories, how you can visit and come meet some of these people, and then some resources. So that's one example of a 5 email series. You got 5 emails, another way to look at it. Another big question is, how often do we do this? Well, the most important answer to that is start right away. Again, start within the first 1 to 3 days after their first gift. That's when the iron is hot. That's when they're excited about their gift. And so you want to get the first one out there. You don't want to go too often because they'll miss it. They might miss some of your welcome series. So if you did it every day, most people, when they're giving in donations, don't look at their emails every day and read all of their brand new emails. A lot of people, 3 days, that's okay. Maybe once a week if it's consistent. There's not a right or wrong, but I would say try it, test it, see what works. If they're too far apart, then people will lose interest. So finding that right middle, it's kind of like the tale of the 3 bears that had the 3 beds, one's too hard, one's too soft, one's just right. What's just right for you? So think about it and look at your open rates, test it. And the more you run a welcome series, the more you're going to find that right rhythm for you. And it does vary. I think I've heard a number of people say they have chosen once a week on the same day. Kind of gives people a sense that it's coming. I've also known a couple of people that do it twice a week and they pick specific days they do it. So what works for you might not be the same for someone else. Everyone's community is a little bit different. This is similar, this is just that outline of this. I love what's different on this one is share of the founder's vision and dream. So if you are a founder, or if you are the leader right after a founder, a lot of people want to know about the founder and how did this organization start? That's a great way something to include in your welcome series. And then, this one really does highlight, meet our board, meet our staff, meet our volunteers. And then love number 5, what makes you passionate about this survey? This is that I want to hear from you. And it's actually using a 3 to 4 question survey that gets people saying, what makes you passionate about this? What inspired you to give the first time? And you'll be shocked how many people answer those questions. They don't want to answer a lot of other ones, but in a welcome email, when you're asking, what do you care about? They tend to respond. So I like this little note at the end here, email 6, it's invitations to learn more, probably not dollars. We'll talk about that in just a few moments. So the big one here, when you kick off your welcome email, this is kind of the one that sets the tone. So it's how do you want to thank them and welcome them? They took their first step and you want to recognize it. You've taken the first step. Congrats. Welcome to our community. And I love this. This is right off of one of your websites. It's a dedicated network of change makers committed to transforming lives. That's really just saying this is who we are. And we're recognizing that, and you're now part of that. So giving that's the feel you want to create. That's the tone you want to set. Now, here's an example that I had after a long time with navigators, never giving. And finally, one time I gave. I think it was out of guilt because, they always send me calendars and they send me, cards that I can give out to people. I'm thinking, oh goodness, I better give at least once. So I got this email and it was a short series. I think it was 3 emails long. And basically what I just kind of figured, I'm going to try this out, see what they do, because Navigators is a big organization. What do they do? So that first email said, thank you for your gift. Thank you. Thanks to your generous support, we have the privilege to minister to over 100 countries around the world. with the military, college students, businessmen and women of every line of work, among homemakers, ethnic groups, and international students, wherever there are people who need Christ. Our vision is to see followers of Jesus next door to everywhere. So, this was kind of that moment that said, hey, you made a good decision. Here's what we're doing. We're doing this, and now you're joining that. So thank you for your gift. Then the next part of the email, they were just confirming what's going to happen next. So they say, after your gift's processed, you're going to get a receipt in the mail. And I thought, okay, that's nice. They're guiding me through this process. So I know I'm getting a tax receipt. They tell me I'm actually going to be starting a welcome series. And then they go down and they start to talk about the impact. So they said, we want to tell you about a story of how these gifts are making a difference in the lives of people. So they're telling me, sign up for quarterly updates. Click there. That's where I could go. If I want to sign up for a quarterly update and hear more impact stories, boom, I can do that. I got more opportunities on other parts of their welcome series to do the same. But in this first letter, I got a thank you. I got told how to connect. And then I have an invitation right in their first one to actually become a monthly donor. That might, for some of you, go, wow, that's a big jump right there. They've tested it. They think it's been working for them. But there's other ways to invite people to learn more, to see more, watch a video, do more, come for a visit. And even in their case, you can get some free discipleship materials. So that told me a lot in their first welcome letter. And I felt like, okay, that's a good start. And then I got two more that follow that up that really went to the next level. So when you think of your thank you letter, this is what you want to focus on. Why the gift is appreciated. Why does it matter? What's the problem we're solving together? How is it impacting lives? How was the gift put to use? If it was something very specific that people responded to, respond to say, that's what we're doing. And then what do you expect the long-term impact of this kind of work to do? That helps people feel like their gift is going to be matter. And then not only do they feel thanked, but they feel like I've made a good investment. I love this email. This is actually not the thank you email that came, but it was right immediate after that auto thank you that came. And I think this is something really powerful, because if you look at this and notice, what do you notice about this email? I mean, obviously this is not the email. I didn't receive it, but it is a template. Dear, okay, let's say I'm going to say my name, Heather. I just saw your gift come through. Our records are correct. If our records are correct, this is your first gift to our organization, and we're so grateful you trust us with your donation. I'd love to know what inspired you to give. I made my first gift to this organization over 10 years ago because I had a dear friend who benefited from our important services, and now I get to help people like him every day. If you have any questions about our organization or the people we serve, I'm happy to help. My contact information is below. All the best, Nick. Think about this. What do you notice about this email? Super short, yeah? It's very responsive. He noticed that and he said, well, maybe our records aren't right, but that's a good disclaimer. But if our records are right, we notice this is your first gift. So I've been seen. I've been noticed if I get this email, that there's a sense of gratitude that is genuine, that you're trusting us with your donation. They recognize what this means from a donor's perspective. And then there's an invitation to reply. And anyone that's ever done this, they always laugh. They go, I'm always shocked when people reply, but they do, because there's a name there and there's contact. Not everyone does, but you get these things on a pretty regular basis as a reply back. It almost is one of those things that can make your day. As an executive director, when you hear from a brand new person that tells you what inspired them to give, that's kind of like a cherry on your day. And for a donor, it feels like they got a chance. They got to be seen and heard, and they got a chance to connect to somebody. I built an incredible long relationship with one organization because I had that. I did reply to something that they sent me, and then he'd been replying. We actually started praying for each. I mean, it was a real relationship that grew over time. So here's another one I got when I joined a new community. I love this title. Yay, you're in. Cue the confetti. And actually, if you saw this, it actually, you know how sometimes it'll create that confetti? It did that. It says you're one smart cookie. Now look at this. There's a personalization. There's affirmations here. You made a good decision. Way to go investing in yourself and your organization to boost your fundraising revenue. Yeah, obviously I was signing up for a fundraising something or other. I knew I liked you. Okay, that might be a little too soon because she doesn't even know me. But then I see there's this 53-second video with my name on this board. So she actually took time to create this when I was a brand new. Now you can't do that if you're a big organization, but a lot of us are not huge. And so we can do something very specific. All she does is erase my name and do the next one. But I felt seen and heard, and celebrated that I joined. So think about those little things. It's not a long email, but it's an email that says, I recognize what you've done and we're welcoming you in. So you can see why I go, this first one, when you go welcome, that's what really is important. All right, I'm going to jump into this idea of planning. We're going to take a look at a peek into really the plans that GoTen has laid out. Thanks, Bobby, for sharing. But when you plan your emails, even before you actually write it all out, think about what do you want subject lines to be? I mean, you can sit and just plan these out. How do you want to greet someone per email? What is the message you want to do? What's the call to action you want to give in each of those? I mean, call to action doesn't mean you're saying give again. It just means how can I take an action to either pray, to look at a website, to read a blog that you've written, to watch a video. What's the call to action that I can take to continue learning and engaging? And then what do I expect next? So you're, again, just kind of guiding someone through, and then think about the graphics. What will help people feel like you get it? Now, there's debate on graphics because if you want it to be super casual, informal, graphics sometimes say the opposite. But if you're going to do this and you want, good graphics, then be intentional with that. So let's peek into what Bobby has written out. So here's his simple welcome series, and his is specific for his new monthly donor program called The Grid. So he is outlining his plan, and he's going to do this in 7 emails. And we're not going to go through all the detail. I'll send you this PowerPoint so you can look at some of his detail. But this first one, this is welcome to the grid. So it's his welcome email, and he wants to have a warm welcome. So he's thinking about how does he want that to say that? How does he want to reinforce the decision that was made? What's the next step? And I like it. It's highlight what's next. Include future updates and how the donor will see impact. What's the call to action? Stay connected, learn more. I love that idea. So there's going to be a learn more button that's going to take them somewhere. And then they're going to use a graphic that they have. So he's planning it and he says, all right, second email, I want them to see impact. I'm going to reinforce that when you give to this organization, there is going to be impact. Stuff is getting done. And I like it. Even in his title, it says, changing lives this month. So this stuff is not something we're waiting to do, but what's happening right now. And his call to action here is he's going to give them a video. So he's got a donor quote, an impact story. He really wants to show the impact. Again, don't hold back on your best stories. Don't feel like you have to come up with something brand new. They're new to your community. This is meet the community. So now he's saying, come, we want you to be a part of this. So when you're joining us, when you're part of this community, there's other people a part of this. So people like us do things like this. Come join us, join the conversation, meet our Facebook community, come and take a tour. I mean, it could be all kinds of things to come on in. And then his fourth email, he's planning to deepen that connection. And he's saying, this is where he's actually spelling out what you can do to come visit us. So come schedule a tour, get a front row seat, see for yourself. So this kind of invitation is actually to come in and meet somebody and be face to face. So he's got 2 ways to introduce people into his community. And I thought I'd throw this one in there because what some of us think, how do we invite people to things? Well, there's 3 organizations that are among us, and it says there's some of their examples of what you can introduce people to do. And that's come on in for a tour, come join an event, come be a volunteer. Be in we have celebrations, a House of Refuge, they have baptisms. Invite someone in for a baptism, invite them in for some volunteer training. So there's all kinds of ways when you think of your own program that you can start to give some opportunities to people to participate with you. And some of them, you might not have some that are virtual, but maybe this will get you thinking of how people could engage even virtually, getting a front eye view of what you're doing. Then email 5, he's really wanting them to understand that their impact is not just local, but global. So this idea of impact, so he's coming back to impact and he's showing, hey, wait, there's more impact than I've even told you. There's this ripple effect that goes beyond our country. And so he's saying, read more, see more. There's more to us. So it's letting people go down in the layers of it. Love it, Bobby. That's a great way of doing it. And then here in 6, he's saying, how can you help us grow? Now, this is unique. Haven't seen a lot of people do it, but I love this idea. I can't wait till he tests this and lets us know how it goes. But he's saying to people, here's some different ways you can grow the grid, which is his monthly donor program. He's saying, come on in, be a volunteer in what we're doing. He's inviting people to volunteer, to attend a training. And then what he's also getting at, kind of his main point, is share the giving opportunities with others. We've got this match coming up. Invite a friend. So his call to action is help us grow, invite a friend. He's got a button that he's going to have so people can click on it and they can invite a friend. That's an incredible way to engage a brand new donor that's super excited, that decided they're going to give, and now they're getting this introduction. This wasn't email number 2. This is email number 6. Could be anywhere from 3 weeks to 6 weeks after they first engage you, and you're keeping them engaged, and they're like, wow, I can do something. I can make a difference. That's kind of cool. Doesn't mean they're going to do it, but you're giving them an opportunity. And then his last one that he's planned out is, again, a thank you. Thank you for being a part of our monthly donor. And this heartfelt sense of why this is important, what you're helping us get accomplished. And then saying, we're going to actually have a specific type of communication that's coming your way called Gridline. So he's informing them what comes next. So you hit the welcome series, now what? Where do you go? So he's really thought that through. And so when you think about this, that was 6. And if you want to ask Bobby, you can write him, you can check with him. How long did it take him to outline his plan? Knowing Bobby, he probably sat down and knocked it out in an hour, ran it by some other folks for another hour, and then had that and said, hey, I'm willing to share it. So this is one group that I was working with. They said, this is our template of what we do. We have these 8 topics that we encourage people to do. And there are a few new ideas on here. The first one is what to expect. And I'm going to show you an example of this that someone did give, but that's helping people what to expect. Now you're jumping in, you're connected to our community. What can you expect to hear from us? And that might be a little bit about communication. Welcome to our community. Everyone's saying that. Survey, again, it's asking some questions, getting them to have some feedback. Now look at that red one on the bottom, a monthly giver ask. This means that they're bold, they're ready. This is like the navigators. It's not their number 1 email, but don't be afraid to be someone asking someone to take the next step up and saying, we're going to invite you to come on the inside. And then updates and resources. What resources do we have to share? Let's share our best ones with you. And that last one, ask a question to really try to get people to reply. So we're going to look at another example from another organization of what to expect from us. This is from Roots Ethiopia. They have one of my favorite welcome series, and I'll show you in just a minute. But they said, I want to pop into your email box and tell you about 3 things you can expect from Roots of Ethiopia. This was their second email that went out after their first welcome, and they said, number 1, you're going to get a newsletter every month. You can read about success stories. Number 2, you're going to get a Friday photo. Look for a special Friday photo every week in your inbox. And number 3, you're going to get some email appeals. We want to share stories and ways to give. Giving feels so good. They set some good expectations right from the beginning of what's going to happen. Love that. And they didn't end there, but there's this is how our email ended. This is from the board chair, and actually she's also the founder of this organization. She has this picture of herself so people know what she looks like. Hit reply, talk to me. You're gonna love being a part of this caring community. We already love having you here. So there's a real person behind this series. And then her next email came, and she says, all right, we're gonna now share what we do. 1, 2, 3, here's what we do. Super clear, concise, and simple. I got it. I don't give to this organization, but I do know a lot about them because the way she's done her welcome series has been interesting, has been exciting, and this is what got me. She did this creative thing, and it's called the Friday Photos. Every Friday, she sends a photo, and they're colorful, they're faces, and this really was about a get to know you series because I had never given, so a little bit on the side, but this is a great strategy. I thought it was so creative because I got to know who they were from these photos and just the simple captions. And I'll tell you what, I read every one of her emails on Fridays. Fridays are a good day. I don't have as much email. I don't have as much pressure. I look at it. I think it's kind of cool. There's a short message. Sometimes it's funny. Sometimes it's serious. But I feel like I'm getting to know who they are just from her once a week Friday photos that make it something that I can grab, I can put my hands around it and get to know who they are. So just a creative idea there. I did get this survey from one organization, and surveys really do open up the relationship to being 2 ways. And so when you think about creating a way to listen to a donor, to ask them a question and to say your voice matters, it is significant. So consider that. This one here was a survey that they went to monthly donors that had been for a long time period. But I've seen some very simple ones, and they actually have a high rate of response, enough so they felt like it's been meaningful to continue these surveys, especially for new donors. So when you give people that opportunity to give, in this case, they said, hey, we want to give you something too. If you fill out this survey, we're going to send you one of our best resources. Love that. Not manipulation, but it's saying, hey, we want to give you something. We want to motivate you. And here's just some simple things to think about when you do a survey. It's just asking people what interests you. How often do you want to hear from us? It can be any practical, it can be something that's just curious about them, but to be able to say that, when you say something to us, we're going to listen. So keep it in simple, but intentional. But then once you ask them for a survey, make sure that you engage with them, because that's what they are hoping you're going to do. And then this is that kind of what I thought was one of the big bonuses as they did this. They identified this email. I think this was the third email. It said, have you ever wondered how Roots Ethiopia got started? And that was their subject line was super long. It all started with the question, how can I help? Then there's a photo. It's a little blurry because it's blurred out. To click on it, you can click on their founder's story, see that, and then she does an invitation to be a monthly donor. So donors really do want to know how they can help. And she said, that's how I got started, how this whole thing started. I said, how can I help? And it's dedicated givers who care about children, families, and communities that want to make a difference. Come join us in this community. And that leads to this real question, and then I'm about ready to wrap this up. But The big question that a lot of people ask is, well, should it, and we're doing a welcome series and maybe it's 6 weeks, when do I make that second ask? Well, people want to know that their giving is accomplishing something before you actually ask them. And I love this. It says, if your first donation was here and your second donation is out there, there needs to be some multiple touch points. And what we know is it should be an 8-to-1 ratio that says 8 touch points to 1 ask. So if you've got a good welcome series, then being able to invite people to do a second one is not a problem in the middle of it. 8-to-1 is for the whole year long. When you're striking when the iron's hot, a 5-to-1 isn't bad. A 4-to-1 isn't bad. So people are saying it's not too early to do this, but you should definitely do it within 3 months. Why? This is significant stats. You look at this one-time donor, the lifetime value or 5-year value of a donor, if you give once, $47 the average gift. But if they give within the first 3 months, their lifetime value typically jumps up because they were interested when they gave. And if you engage them and they give again within 3 months, that says their engagement is staying up. They have found someone that says, these are people that care about what I care about. And you can see that when someone gives later in the process, their lifetime value goes down. So this isn't just about dollars, but it's about engagement. It's about saying, if you connect with people early and they give again, that says that they really do feel like they found their people. And ultimately, what would be nice is to have a 90-day engagement plan that really helps that show all this so that you can get that golden gift again. A couple of other thoughts just to think about. Once you've got a welcome series, you do have to think, what happens next? And I talked with a couple of leaders and they're like, oh, there was a couple of times where I dropped people. We went through the welcome series and I forgot to connect them to our regular communication plan. So what is your regular communication plan? You want to have a good baton handoff here. You know, we just finished the Olympics. You got to have a baton handoff between your welcome series and your ongoing communication to go, what is that pattern of 8-to-1, staying connected and continuing to talk to them? And what about updating this? Well, not only should you update your welcome series, but you need to test it. So you think about that. How often should that be? Is it once a year, once every 2 years, once every 6 months? But look at it, and I would say test it. You don't have to be scientific in your testing, but you should definitely reach out to someone who's been a new donor, preferably a friend or family member, or ask us. We can do it too. Give some feedback on your welcome series. What worked? What stood out? What was really good? So just wrapping that up, here's these best practices. Send your welcome email immediately. Get this started. Jump on it right away. Get your welcome series. Make sure it's going. Send it and get it started. Make it very relational. Guide people, genuine, casual conversation, not like it's super formal. Make it mobile friendly because many times people are picking up on their phone. Didn't say that yet, kind of important. And make it so people feel like they are connected to your community, who care about your mission. And you do that, people are likely to give again, and they're going to stay with you for a longer period of time. Take these people on a short but beautiful journey that's going to lead to a lasting relationship that you continue to help them. I think I just did this one twice. Other considerations. Look at that, it popped up. But a couple of things that I didn't say on there. Adapt it for other donor types and provide a way to unsubscribe. That's kindness. That's, if someone's not interested, that's okay. Let them unsubscribe so that you don't have to keep going. If you want to know more, Next After has a great series. You can go through a certificate, and there's some great ways to get good automation if you don't have it. This Automate Genius, look this up because you can often connect this to your website with an API and it can help you automate that. And sometimes that's the hardest part that goes with it.